Let's get started, everyone. Thank you guys very much for coming out this evening to this event. Tonight, we'll be obviously dealing with Tableau, and our instructor is Charles Sutton. He's a data professional supporting analytics projects at ShareCare, and he brings 10 plus years of experience for companies such as Petco, Intuit, and Redbox. At ShareCare, he is evangelizing the power of analytics by working with business stakeholders to adopt and utilize analytics tools, spending his career aligning analytics with business goals. His primary area of professional interest is creating clear and informative dashboard reports that support the sales, operations, and customer support functions. Charles holds an MBA from Colorado State University, where he received a certificate in business intelligence. He is a proud husband and father that lives in San Diego area with his wife, child, and dog Skipper. Notice you named your dog, but you didn't name your wife or your child. As an avid sports fan, he can always be found watching sports on the weekends. Everyone, I'd like you to welcome Charles, and let's get started with this. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks for that intro, John. Everybody can hear me okay? Perfect. All right. Thank you for that introduction, John. Really appreciate that. Great bio that I wrote for you. And yes, I did not name my wife or my child for personal reasons, but our dog Skipper is very important. So I thought everybody should know he's a adopted shepherd. And so just wanted the group to know about it. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and jump into the presentation this evening. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. So welcome to tonight's presentations, Transforming Data into Dashboards. This is a Tableau focused workshop in which we will talk about all things Tableau. A little bit about my background in Tableau is I am a business data professional. Right now, I'm a senior business analyst for ShareCare, as John pointed out, but I also have my own analytics consulting firm where I pick up pick up weekend work to do analytics projects. I've been using Tableau for about 5 to 6 years now. I got into Tableau originally because I wanted to expand my professional background. Originally started off in the world of Excel, and as I grew my career, I grew into using different data tools. So I went from Excel to SQL. Eventually, Excel started to have its limitations, if anybody who has experience with Excel. And so I wanted to find a new tool where I could build cool data tools with a lot of data. The world of big data blew up. And so I've been using Tableau. I picked it up on the side. It wasn't really in the job place, but it was something that I picked up as a self-interest. And I really jumped right in, really learning how to use the tool. And grew my skills so good that I could get a job using Tableau. So today's workshop is really focused on going from raw data and turning it into a dashboard. John let me know that there was going to be a kind of different range of people attending. So there's beginner Tableau users, people who haven't used Tableau at all. And then there's also some intermediate Tableau users who've had exposure to Tableau, use it in their daily work. And so when I created this workshop, I really wanted to create something for everybody. So we're going to go from getting raw data from the internet, bringing it into Tableau, going through all of the functions and features. I really find that being project-based is better than just kind of doing a tour of Tableau. So I'm going to start off a little bit talking about Tableau. Want to let everyone know that I am in no way, I am an analyst at heart, and so I have a toolkit in which I use, and Tableau is in that toolkit. But you can make great visualizations in any sort of tools. Hence, I'm talking to our user group that has those skills: Python, Excel, SQL. So I want to focus on not only using Tableau to build great data visualizations and dashboards, but I also want to talk about, some good design techniques when it comes to data visualization, and also kind of the front runners in the industry, people that have done work before me that pioneered the world of data visualization, so I can do that sort of work myself on a daily basis. So the first half of the workshop, I'm going to talk about Tableau a bit, and then we're going to I'm going to talk about some of the Tableau community and talk to you about how you could learn Tableau on your own and get you that skill. So whether you're working in the workplace or you're a student and you want to get better at Tableau, I'm very big into using open source tools to be able to develop your skills, because you may not always have the chance in the business world, healthcare industry, or as a student to be able to learn Tableau. So that's why tonight I chose Tableau Public as the platform for us to do the workshop. So we're going to get some raw data, you're going to download Tableau, you're going to ingest it into Tableau, and then you're going to start building data visualization. So let's get started talking a little bit about Tableau, the tool, the community, why Tableau Public is a great tool to be able to learn how to build dashboards. And then we'll talk, we'll get into the workshops, break out into groups. You'll start building and putting visualizations together. And then the second half, we're then going to cover just some more data visuals, design techniques. And then throughout all of it, we're going to use Tableau to learn how to build a dashboard from raw data. So that being said, so data is moving, as you know, it's growing fast, and you see data everywhere. And so especially when you look at news channels, sports, healthcare, data is all around us. It's an important skill to develop your data skills and visualizations. And so I think that this visualization itself encapsulates a lot of the skills that the future data professional is going to need, not only bringing data together, but visualizing it in a compelling way that draws in the interest of your audience, and then also informing them on important topics of interest. So in this visualization from Pew Research, which you can see is that it's the baby boomer generation and what percentage of population they accounted for at any period of time. It helps you understand how that boom happened early on and how that the population is changing over time. I think what else is very interesting at the very end of the graph is that the female population will be twice as big as the male population of 85 plus. So just in this visual, you get a ton of information. It's interesting, it's engaging, and it makes the audience want to learn more about the data that you're going to, that you want to present to your audience. Now tonight, we're not going to be learning how to make visualizations like this. We're going to get you started on foundations of Tableau. What I want to do is really take you from the beginning to the end of the developing a dashboard so you can get the skills and tools that you need to continue on your Tableau education. I'd like to get you excited about data, excited about using the tools. And so, I'm going to show you a lot of what if, or, potential and possibilities early on. And then we'll jump into the tool and we'll start with the basics and really learning how to use that tool. So I hope that once this workshop is complete, you will continue on your Tableau journey by using open source tools, open source data that's available out there on like Kaggle and Data World, and take your education in Tableau and data visualization beyond what I teach you in this workshop. So a little bit about me. I think as I was telling you, I'm an analyst. I've been doing Excel. I did Excel, and then I moved into Tableau later on in my career. But as John mentioned earlier, I have worked for companies like Petco and Redbox, big companies that were on the forefront of big data and using data. And so I've had a lot of exposure to data in my career, and it's really helped me develop, my interests of where I am today. I'm definitely a big sports enthusiast. If you take a look at my Tableau Public profile, then you will see that I've got a ton of work on there that I've created in terms of sports themes. And so a lot of the time when I'm trying to learn how to develop new skills in Tableau, I'll go get some sports data from the internet, and then I'll ingest that data into Tableau and I'll start building new things. And when I first started Tableau, it was there was a learning curve, right? Even though it's a drag and drop interface, which I'm going to show you a little bit more tonight. There's still some things about it, formulas and formatting and editing. It's a very it's a tool with a ton of functions that you can really, only by the limit of your imagination, you can build anything that you want. So I've been working with Tableau for quite a while now, and I have a ton of experience in the data field. I've been an analyst, I've been engineering, I've dabbled in machine learning a bit. And so I'm really just enthusiastic about data, and I'm enthusiastic about what Tableau can do to help a data professional advance their career. This is a screenshot of my Tableau Public profile. We're actually going to visit a little bit later, but I've done over 40 visualizations online. I got a visit of the day, which I will talk a little bit later, but basically that's people enter in visualizations every day on Tableau Public, and then committee votes on the best visualizations of that day. And sometimes hundreds of entries can be submitted. And in one of those cases, I submitted an entry that got picked for the visit of the day. The reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to know that, I didn't have to invest any money in my Tableau education. All I needed was a computer and the interest to grow and learn. And so if you have that drive to grow and learn and do more with Tableau, it's an open source tool that you can download to your computer, upload some data, and you can start visiting away. And so tonight, that's exactly what we're going to cover. I just wanted to give you a preview of my Tableau Public profile. The cool thing about this Tableau Public profile is if you're looking for a job, you can always bring this out as a portfolio of your work. So if anyone ever asks you, hey, can you show us some of your work? You do it at work, you're using proprietary data, you can't exactly show that data to another potential employer, but you can point them to their point them to your Tableau Public profile, and they will be able to get, be able to see some samples of work that you've done. And I can attest that recently my team, we just hired a new report designer. And the first question that we asked him is, do you have a way to share your work with us? That individual did the same thing. He created an online dashboard and shared it with the group, so we were able to get exposure and see exactly what kind of data visualization skills he has. So something about me, in order to keep my Tableau skills relevant, I like to come up with topics that are relevant to me. That allows me to stay interested and to continue to research ways that Tableau can, tips and tricks in Tableau and things that I can test out. In the workplace, a lot of the time you're kind of set with the data sets that you're given, and there's time constraints, so you don't get to get real creative or test new things. So I have kind of, it's like a sandbox that when I have time on the weeknights or on the weekends, I can go and check out influencers, pioneers, see some of the stuff that they're doing, and then bring that back into the visualizations that I build and try out new tips and techniques that I can then bring back to work. And so, as I mentioned, I try to find topics that are interesting to me. I find doing data visualizations on topics in the local region have been interesting to me. I even run a work group called San Diego Data Discovery, and that's just kind of people do data stories about San Diego with local data sets that we can get. So here, this was a COVID data set. I mean, I didn't want to talk about COVID too much today. I'm sure we've all had our fill of hearing, talking about COVID and COVID data. But if you were a data viz professional, it was a great time to be able to get your hands on some very granular data. And I just went to a San Diego open data site and got by zip code COVID statistics, and then built out my own data visualization about COVID and what could I learn. It also allowed me to, it was interesting to me, but you can also see that I tried some different kind of charting techniques here, and that maybe I wouldn't be able to try out at work. And a lot of the data visualization that I've gotten, that I've learned from books or learned from other courses, individuals, workshops, I then come back to Tableau Public and test it out on topics that are interesting to me. I used to be an environmental scientist. When I graduated college, I thought I was going to go out and save the endangered species. And so I have a very strong interest in environmental data visualization. My career took a left when I thought it would go right. And I've heard that you don't always do the work that you went to school for. Unfortunately, I graduated the environmental industry in 2009 when we had the economic collapse. And so environmental jobs kind of disappeared. But it did not, I still have an interest in environmental topics. I've done a few environmental subjects here in the San Diego region. This one I did it for I Love a Clean San Diego, which is a volunteering group that goes around and cleans up. It's just a little bit, and this is all done in Tableau with just charts and kind of text boxes with some context about, what's the most polluted areas and what happened. Again, done in Tableau, allowing me to try new things. And then another topic that was hot for me was crime. I'm a father of a 5-year-old, married a wife. I'm married. That was just something that's like, I'd like to live somewhere that's low crime, and I could try some new visual techniques here. I was trying out a heat map and trying out some indicators on bar charts, conditional formatting, and then even the title up top, it was brought in through Tableau because you can bring in images and set this up to come up with these sort of visualizations. So, I am in no way a visual design expert in any way, and I'm actually going to show you a few visual design experts here in a minute, but I just wanted to continue to, impress that go to Tableau Public, get some data. I'm going to get you started tonight, and then you can take your Tableau journey in whatever direction you'd like to go. So that being said, I'd like to recommend 3 books to this group. Not pitching anything, I'm not pitching Tableau, I'm not pitching books, but I would say that these books have been influential in my dashboard design, data visualization design. The ideas that come out of these books are really to keep things simple, keep things cluttered, let the data speak for itself, and anything else should be brought to the background or deleted altogether. So Information Dashboard Design by Stephen Few. It's a great book for me as a person that's in the business world, especially. It's a great book on how do you align data and put it into a space to get the biggest impact for your audience. So it's very clear and it's very understandable. And from those books came the ideas of like spark lines and bullet charts, and some of those types of graphs we're going to take a look at tonight. The Big Book of Dashboards is one of my favorite Tableau focused books, and actually the book was not done written for Tableau, but it was what they do is they do makeovers of dashboards and graphs. So if you need any ideas on how to make better graphs, make them more engaging, interesting, it's a great book on how they took a dashboard that was very cluttered and condensed and very difficult to read, and how they kind of edited it in such a way and used different types of varying graphs to make your dashboard reports more interesting. And then storytelling with data is really where my interest has been in the last kind of 2 to 3 years. How do you tell a compelling story with data? I've been doing dashboards for a really long time, data visualizations, and sometimes I've walked away feeling like, I didn't get the audience to do exactly what I had thought, or I didn't get them to feel exactly how I wanted them to feel. Cole Nussbaum or Knaflick, the storytelling with data, she really focuses on how do you present the data, design the data in a way that is interesting for the audience and also informative. So I want to, Tableau is not just a tool, but it's a community where you can learn from others. So I'm teaching you Tableau tonight, but I'm really empowering you with a tool that you can use to grow. And now I'm going to introduce you to that community so you can get what is called Vispiration or visual inspiration. And so you'll have Tableau Public. Now you'll have a group of people and references that you can visit and get to learn how they've done visualization and their tips and techniques for improved data visualization. What I'm going to go through now is just a few of the Tableau dashboards that people better at Tableau dashboard design are than me. And I just wanted to really show you what's possible, potential, and show you the mixed types of charts that are being used out there and that can all be built in Tableau. This chart is by Ryan Sleeper. So I'm going to kind of go through a name drop section right now, and I would recommend that you write down some of these names. And if you're going to jump into Tableau and you want to build these sort of things, remember these names. Reach out and connect with them on Twitter. I've reached out and with a lot of the individuals I'm about to talk about on Twitter. I've asked them for feedback. I've asked them for reviews. They have online challenges. I mean, the community for Tableau is very connected, and they're always very willing to help. So as I drop some of these names over the next couple of slides, write them down, reach out, connect with them on Twitter. And then if you say, hey, I want to learn how to make this dot plot or this scatter plot or this bee swarm plot. Hey, Ryan Sleeper, I remember Charles showed us Ryan Sleeper doing that before. So in the chart that we're looking at here, yeah, he brought in images. It's got, it's interactive. So you can click on the charts and you can update the actors. It's got that bee swarm plot in the middle with the, and then down the sides, you've got the dot plots using color to really call out and attention to what's important. So I really like the mix of visuals that were used in this dashboard report to make it engaging and interesting. This next one is by Sarah Bartlett. Sarah Bartlett runs a monthly Tableau challenge called Iron Quest. And really that's to help prepare people for this event called Iron Viz. But what's cool about it is that she set it up, she gives you a theme, and then you can create a data visualization and challenge other people. I think she gets about 15, 20 people a month, and she goes through it and she reviews it and tells you exactly, will give feedback, lets you know what's good, what's bad. And so that's another way to improve your visualization skills. But you can see here in this data visualization, she's talking about the top 10 places to visit on a budget. Now, I only did like the first place that you could visit, but she's using bar charts. She used great color combinations. The layout really guides the audience through the information, highlights what's important. These are all things that as you build a dashboard, you should think about, because it's not only about taking data and throwing it into a dashboard, it's really about taking data and having people make a decision with it. And the way people make a decision with data is through data that is designed well, and it really informs them and is interesting to interact with. This one is by Lindsey Beckmann. She does another monthly challenge. It's a healthcare monthly challenge. She's in the healthcare industry. So if you have any interest in healthcare data and how to visualize that, I highly recommend to follow Lindsey. Here she uses a good combination of different types of charts. Instead of a pie chart, notice she used parts of a whole, and she kind of colored the dots to really say that the cheetah population was declining, right? That's a real visual impact about how much it's declined from 1900 to 2016. Those big red numbers, those are called bang boxes. We'll take a look at those later, but bang boxes are really just large KPIs that drag your audience's attention to the most important numbers. A simple bar chart down there at the bottom, but use some conditional formatting to highlight where the cheetah is in comparison to the other categories of animals, and then a little bit of text in order to add context. And it really fills out the data visualization and makes it complete. Ken Fleurlage, it's also, he's got a twin. So there's Ken and Kevin Fleurlage, and they're both kind of doing data visualization together. This one was about drunk driving. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, I kind of just continue to reiterate the use of color, the use of different types of graphs, text, layout, visuals, right? This isn't just your everyday business dashboards. This is really creating infographics that are informative and interesting. And so while you can create just your basic business dashboards, you know, you can take your data viz career in any different directions and create things. There's no, you know, there's a lot of flexibility in Tableau. And again, that's why I'm kind of just teaching you tonight a project from beginning to end, so you get interactivity and exposure to all of the features in Tableau. And finally, just another data visualization. Again, you know, possibility, potential of what can be built out using a mix of visuals, colors, graphics, and text to put together a complete story about while using data, right? Using data effectively. And so, you know, I wanted to use these examples to help you think about when you're building data and when you're building visualizations, how can you do it better? And I'm always asking myself, how can I do it better? Well, in order to get better at anything, you have to do repetition, try it again. And Tableau is no different. So I'm definitely going to give you the skills to get you started, but keep going. And it's amazing what can be built while using Tableau. So I just wanted to kind of cover a few of the things that Tableau offers. The Iron Viz, it's like an Iron Chef competition, but take out the hot pots and put in the data viz. It's 3 competitors that compete against each other with the best data visualization. Starts with feeder rounds. I've actually entered a few of these feeder rounds just to, you know, make my data skills better than what they were yesterday. You know, and I'm still trying, but basically what happens is different parts of the world get to put in their entries, you know, anywhere from 10 to 100, depending on the country. And then a committee votes on 3 people, send them to the Tableau conference. And in front of a live audience with 1 hour, you build a data visualization. And then the top data visualization is chosen and is crowned the Iron Viz champion. So, right, just kind of trying to let you know that there's a lot of stuff out there that you can get out and improve your data visualization skills. So one can try to reach the level of Zen Master. A Zen Master is somebody who is highly involved in the Tableau community and does a ton of Tableau visualizations, gives tips and tricks. A lot of them are on Twitter. If, you know, best advice I can give you is that going to Twitter and following some of these individuals on Twitter will really help you improve your design skills in Tableau. And there's things like Makeover Monday, which what that is every Monday, Andy Kriebel and Ava Murray, they do this thing called Makeover Monday, where they pull something from the web, just an atrocious chart that was just not well thought out, or is definitely breaking the principles of good data visualization. And the community that is part of this Makeover Monday community redesigns those charts in a better way. So like you can get examples of 15 to 20 better ways to design a chart. It's a great way to learn. And on top of that, they have Workout Wednesday, which allows you to test, to learn new techniques, how to use Tableau to do more advanced, intermediate and advanced functions. And tonight I did add a couple of intermediate functions in. It is step-by-step instructions, and I'm also going to give you a quick run through of exactly what you're supposed to do. So don't worry about it. You know, if the learning curve seems a little bit steep, I want you to jump into this project and really just, you know, give your attention to the design and what you're playing with and what you're working with. and get something published to the online so you can really understand what it feels like to build something in Tableau. I think you're really going to learn that the drag and drop functionality and the point and click makes it very easy to build a dashboard. And tonight's workshop, we're going to give you an hour. Within an hour, you're going to build your first dashboard on Tableau Public and publish it. And so that says I was highlighting Tableau Public. That is definitely the tool of choice that I'm recommending. I hope that everybody has downloaded their Tableau Public. If you haven't downloaded Tableau Public, please go do that now. And I know John set up the data file on the GitHub repo. So that the file on the GitHub repo and downloading Tableau Public to your local computer will get you started of ingesting some data and getting started. So we're going to have our own Tryout Tuesday. And basically, it's exactly what I said. We're just going to get hands-on. You're going to get dirty, and you're going to build something in Tableau. As I said, I know Excel, SQL, Power BI, Tableau, Python, and I've dabbled in R, although I will not say that I've got the skills that you guys have. You know, all of those, I wasn't taught in the workplace how to pick up my data skills. It can be very difficult for someone to tell you exactly what your data, you know, the data skills that you need. And so you have to be passionate about data. And that's why we're all here with this group, because we're passionate about learning and we're passionate about improving. And I found that, yes, I've gone to plenty of tutorials and you know, I've got an MBA and a bachelor's degree, but where I really grew as a data professional was not in school and not at work, but doing projects, my own personal projects that keep me interested, so I can grow my data skills myself. And then if somebody needs those data skills at some point for a job, well, then I get to apply for those because I've been working tirelessly to keep my data skills sharp and modern. So that being said, for Tryout Tuesday, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into the project. I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes just kind of going through the project myself. And I'm going through the same steps that you are then going to go and break out and do the groups yourself. Like I said, this seems like the easiest way to get the group to learn Tableau, get hands-on experience. But most important, we want to get you to that point where you're publishing something online, because then you'll have a portfolio started. And so you can have that for your career, you can have that as a student, you can have a place to go practice. And after you leave this workshop, you can still continue to do your own Tableau development. Now let me get a drink of water here. All right. Okay, so what we're going to build tonight is a refund rate dashboard, just a basic business dashboard, no thrills going on here, none of that cool stuff that you saw in the beginning. You got to walk before you can run. So really, I want to get you started, get you familiar with Tableau. And then one day, please reach out to me on LinkedIn and show me these amazing Tableau visualizations that you built, because I'd love to see them and I'd love to be a fan and a supporter of your Tableau development. So in tonight's exercise, like I said, I'm going to do a refund rate dashboard, just some quick KPIs. In my world, I'm kind of a master of KPIs. I work with business stakeholders and I help them understand, what are you trying to measure? What are you trying to improve? Really understand the data architecture and how we can get the data that they need, build it in a way, visualize it in a way so they can see they're hitting the goals and targets. Things like bullet charts, conditional formatting come in very handy when you're doing that sort of work. So we're going to take a look at some basic line charts, some bar charts, and then try to go a little bit more intermediate with dot plots and jitter plots. So I'm going to talk about all those types of charts a little bit later, but I really didn't want to just talk your ear off about Tableau. I want to get you in here, get you going, and get you set on that path to doing more Tableau work on your own. So download the file. I downloaded the file to my local computer, and then we're going to bring in that complaint data. And can everybody see okay? Is everybody good? If there's anybody on the complaint data, it's in GitHub. So, John, you got that out there?
In the chat for Zoom is links to the GitHub and also links to download Tableau.
Perfect. Thanks, John. All right. And I do see some of those questions. How about I go through the exercise first, and then I'll come through, I'll come back through to the questions and answer some of those. So I'll make sure I've got enough time to send some responses before I send you out to the work group. Sound good, everybody? All right. You know what? I see that question there. Let me give you I have a Google Sheets link. So let me just give you that too. 1 second. While I'm doing this, a cool thing about Tableau Public is that, yes, I could just connect right to the CSV, but I could also connect directly to Google Sheets if I wanted to. And so I've done that myself. Let me see, put that link right there for you. And there's the link. It's open to everybody. I have nothing in there that you shouldn't be able to see. So try that, and I'll check back up on the group after I get through kind of going through the exercise. So you can see I brought the data in here, and the data brings you to the data source screen. And the data source screen is really the data being brought in, and then so you can check it out before you start doing your visualization. Now, I'm not going to focus too much on the data source. You can get in here. There's actually a ton of stuff you can do. Remember, I'm trying to get us from A to Z. So I'm moving more of on a project base and getting us to an end result. But just a quick overview of the data source screen. You can see the data types, values. You can do some sorting here. You can change names. And in fact, one of the things that I'm going to want you to do is update the complaint ID. I labeled that incorrectly on purpose, just so you could come in here and learn how to use that data source. But it's going to be critical for you changing and updating that complaint ID to complaints. So you'll just right click it, rename complaints. It's very easy software to once you get into it, to get familiar with it and start building. But let's take a look at what we've got here. So in the need more data section, in today's workshop, I've brought complaint data, refund data, and so it's a smaller data set. But the way I was thinking about this is, okay, I've got some complaint data. Who would want to see the complaint data? I started thinking about an audience that I was building for. Okay, so there's complaints, there's refunds. Refunds, I found, okay, that's pretty interesting. A company doesn't ever want to have to charge back money. Who would be interested in, the number of complaints and the number of refunds? In the business world, I always think of finance people. So a VP of finance, director of finance, CFO, that is the individual trying to get information from me on, what's happening with our refunds, what's happening with what, are we sending out more money, or, so I really tried to think of an audience of who I was going to build this data visualization for. And that's what's great about this data screen, is that you can go through and understand the data, understand what kind of values you're looking at. But what I wanted to bring up the need more data section is, let's say the CFO asked us, well, how much money did you lose? Well, right now we're only taking at volume. So there's nothing about money. If I wanted to expand on the analysis that we're going to do tonight, I could bring in a financial data set. I could join it right here in Tableau, blend the data together, and then when I go into the visualization piece, I have all that data joined for me, and I can just move on to the building part. Coding, for people of SQL, R, Python, the joins, and you gotta write the joins and get the data formatted, and did the join create too many rows, and sometimes coding can take quite a bit of work and time to figure it out, where here you just kind of take the data, connect it on primary keys, and boom, you've got two data sets. Now, Tableau Public, you can only connect to like CSVs, text, Google Sheets. It doesn't have that direct connections to things like SQL. or if you wanted to do R or Python work, you'd have to do that with Tableau Professional. So there are some limitations with the data connectivity that you can do with Tableau Public, but this is really getting you started, getting connected to data and doing some work in the Tableau environment. Now, from this data screen, we're going to jump into sheets. These tabs down at the bottom are called worksheets or sheets. And in the sheets, you can choose the data source. You can choose worksheets, which is going to be your canvas for building out data visualizations, and then dashboards. And dashboards is where you're going to bring your worksheets, multiple worksheets into a dashboard area and create this app-like report that has interactivity and filtering capabilities. So when you jump into the project, you're going to come into the sheet, and this is a worksheet. You'll click sheet 1. Let's just take a quick overview of the Tableau environment and what you'll be interacting with tonight. Across the top, file, data, worksheets, those are your tabs. And then you have your toolbars, which allows you to ingest more data. You can create new worksheets. And again, I'm not going to go too far into the details on that because we're going to cover that stuff as you go through the project. I'm going to show you what you're going to do. And then when you're doing the hands-on exercise, you're also going to get exposure to how do you interact with the Tableau environment. So I'm trying to keep things high level and really show you what needs to be done, but there's a lot of detail and a lot of steps in the instructions. Follow it through closely, and don't worry about how far along you get. I think anybody in the group can get this done within the hour, but if it has to go over a little bit, I've given you very detailed instructions on how you can complete this. I wanted to just like fit all the kind of range of Tableau experience here. And for those of you that are a bit more experienced and move through this really fast, I did put an extra credit piece at the end so you can add some action and filtering to the dashboard. As we cover the Tableau environment, you should know the difference between dimensions and measures. Dimensions are discrete categorical values, and dimensions are usually numeric and continuous values. So that's going to become important when we're starting to build stuff out. And again, I could explain that to you, but instead I'm just going to show you. And then I'll start explaining the other parts of the sheets as we go along. But I did want to say that our journey is going to start here. And I want you to know the difference between dimensions and measures. Because the next part of the exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to create our own calculated measures. Now, a calculated measure, what that is creating your own measures, doing formulations, and so creating new measures out of the current measures and dimensions that are already available to you. So what the first exercise, what's going to set the foundation is, John and I talked about what do I want to bring into this workshop, and we wanted me to cover a fair amount on this sort of formulas that you can write in order to create new fields and functions. So the exercise is going to start off with creating a list of 7 calculated fields. And to do a calculated field, what you do is you go into the analysis section here, create calculated field. And what that does is that opens up a dialog box in which you're going to add formulas. And I'll use this as an opportunity to talk about what kind of formulas can be created in the calculated fields. So when you create a calculated field, you're going to want to name the calculation first. So go in here, your first calculation is going to be total complaints. And in the exercise, I actually put the names of the formulas in there. So don't worry about having to know what the formulas are. Again, I'm kind of giving you a step in the right direction so you can just build things pretty quickly and get something built up and then published to Tableau Public. In this first case, we're using sum. What that's going to do is, remember when we changed complaint ID to complaints, it's now a number that you're summing up. And so it'll allow you to do the aggregation in just one calculated measure. Your second one here is going to be total refunds. Now what this uses is sum ifs. So anyone who's ever used a case statement in SQL, in any programming language, using case statements, this is the same. what you do is you say, if a category has a value, then give me that dimension or give me that sum. So in this case, we're going to sum if the company response to consumer is closed with monetary relief. Now, when I went through the EDA, exploratory data analysis, part of my project and getting this set up for you, that's what I identified as somebody who was given a refund. So now I'm just looking at which complaints were closed with monetary relief, and I called them total refunds. Third field here now is we have a refund rate. So you're going to take the number of complaints, the total as your denominator, and the total refunds as your numerator, and come up with a rate. I chose this rate as kind of like the North Star metric that the CFO would be interested in seeing. When you think about dashboard design, you don't want to overwhelm your audience with too many numbers and KPIs. So you really want to create something that is that alerts them that there's a problem or there's an issue. And as I went through this kind of fake requirements gathering session with the CFO, you know, he and I came to this agreement that the refund rate would be the best metric to help him really grab his attention and direct it to maybe there's a problem that we need more research into. We're going to do a max refund rate, and the max refund rate is going to use a window max function. And what we have for window max functions is basically Tableau goes through the data source. So what Tableau is going to do is it's going to go through the max rate function that you created, and then so what it's going to do is it's going to go through all of the refund rates and take a look at what was the highest refund rate of the entire group, and then just extract that one high value out and then exclude the rest of the values. And what that helps you do is it highlights points of interest within your graph. And what it does, it brings attention to areas that you would want your audience to focus on. And then you'll see how we're going to use that window function in the visualizations later. We got a date max. So what, learning Tableau is really going to come down to, repetition, reusing kind of the same sort of functions, understanding these case functions. This is what's called a level of detail, and in a level of detail function, what that does is it helps you find a particular date. So you have a range of dates in a column. What I've asked it for is the max date of the data set, and I'm going to use this as a filter later. But creating these calculated fields, once you get the hang of what exactly the formulas are, creating them are pretty easy. And what you'll notice is that I'm kind of naming them these prefixes of like window max or filter, so I know where in the visualization I'm going to be using these later. Again, I've kind of written this out in the step-by-step instructions, so you just have to go and create these and don't have to worry too much about the functions. Okay. All right, so once you have those functions created, now you have the foundation for creating visualizations, okay? And so you have these filters built, and so next what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna bring in, to create a filter, what you wanna do is you wanna drag a calculated field that you created into the filters. And what that allows you to do is it just creates the filter for you. And then you can put it in there. And then if you right click on the complaints, and you do apply to worksheets, all using this data source, then that data source will then be carried over. So for every single worksheet you create, you'll have that filter in place. So let's say you looked at the original data source that I used for creating this workshop. That original data source was over 1.4 million rows. It was a lot of data. And when I first started putting this workshop together, I was like, we really want to get into big data with this group, but also, I didn't want to overwhelm you with too much data and trying to learn the tool at the same time. So I kind of shrunk it. I reduced the size of the data set, transformed it into, pivoted it into a more manageable size. And so, but in that data set, you had all kinds of states. So if you wanted to, you could just then bring in a state. And let's say you wanted to look at the state of California, you could choose California. And then you could apply that to the worksheets, and then that would carry over to every single worksheet. So that's the filters pane. Down here is the marks cards. We're going to get into that in a moment, but that gives you that functionality of being able to change color, size, text, details, and then tooltips. And we're going to cover all of those functions here in just a moment. So now that we have the filters out there, what we want to do is we want to set up our text cards. And our text cards are really, we're going to use those for those things that I called bang boxes earlier. We'll talk a little bit more about bang boxes in the second half of the session. But really it's just a large KPI that brings attention. You noticed I did that, pointed that out in one of the visualizations earlier. So what you want to do here is you just want to bring over, first you want to rename your sheets. And so I'm going to rename this first sheet's total complaints bang box. So the naming of these sheets are going to be important for when you're dragging them into the dashboard area later. Notice up here at the top, it took that sheet name and it added a title there. So you may want to use that title, may not. I don't have to. But we'll talk about updating that in just a moment. And then you can drag your total complaints measure, that calculated field that you created, and bring it right into the view area. Oh, well, you could. Total complaints, let me just. Some complaints, total complaints, yes. Nothing here. And it's right. Okay. All right, so. Okay. All right, so you're going to want to bring the total complaints in there. Little hiccup by me there, sorry about that. Bring the total complaints, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go up into this area up here, and then you're going to want to create entire view. And so what's going to happen is when you change that to the entire view, it's going to fill up the box, and it's going to become important a little bit later when we bring in the bang boxes into the dashboard area. Want to update the title here, change the title. We don't need the word bang box. So the title area is you can right click in the title. And again, I want to reiterate, I'm just kind of showing you pretty fast, giving you a high overview of what's going on. There's very detailed instructions explain this clearly throughout the instructions. So, you don't have to remember everything that I'm telling you here, but you can see how to do it. There's also images in the instructions, so you know exactly what the final result should look like. But in here, this is a title dialog box, and in that title dialog box, you can then change the name. I'm just going to change it to total complaints. If you wanted to, you could change colors, you could change text size to maybe 12 if you wanted to. You can bold it. So there's a lot of options here for you and editing your text. Again, giving you an introduction to it, but as you learn more about Tableau, you could create dynamic labels where you could then bring in values. And as you added a filter and changed the filter, you could also get measures to change, or you could get the title to be dynamic and learn have the title reflect the measure. So let's say you had sales and profit. right? You choose a radio button that says change the metrics, the bar graph to sales or profit. You flip that over and now, right, you're looking at sales and you're looking at profit. Well, what happens to the title? Well, the title then says, you know, sales for California or profit for California. So it just makes the dashboard interactivity more interesting and more intuitive for your audience. So you can go ahead and change the total complaints, and then the text here, you're going to increase the text size to 24. So you're going to be doing a lot of editing of text, of axes. And so you're going to get familiar with the right click button on these dimensions and these measures. Do it a couple times and then you'll be flying through it, but you just right click and then you can change the size of the dimension there. Change it to 24. There you go. And then I'm going to center the alignment of it. Center. And there you go. That is a bang box. And it's just a large number that directs your attention to where the audience should be looking. Now, once you've created that first bang box, then you can go ahead and just duplicate it and create 3 more very quickly. Pull that out. I've got total complaints. Now I'm going to do that with total refund. Change that. Rename that to total complaints, or total refunds bang box. Update my title. It's now total refunds. Got that. The text size here, right click. So you can see it's just about repetition, doing it over and 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 over again until you get better at it. I think of Mr. Miyagi when I'm going through Tableau a lot of the time. You know, wax on, wax off, and you know, practice, practice, practice. You can't become a martial artist until you go through the basics. And so do it over and over and over again. You'll get used to it, and then duplicate it one more time. This will be your third bang box. Total refunds, and then now you just swap it out with refund rate, rename it again. Okay. Resize it, reformat it, go to numbers, percentage, resize. There you go. All right, there you go. So now you have your first 3. These are going to be your bang boxes, your big text cards that are going to hold your numbers. And when you bring them in, you're going to bring them into the dashboard a little bit later. All right. So that's going to be the first half of getting you started. I wanted to take you through and just give you a quick overview of what you're going to build out during the breakout sessions. John, the breakout sessions at 7:30, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to do exactly what I just did. Follow the instructions, go to your breakout rooms, try this out. Now we're building the foundation of getting you to a final dashboard and publishing it. So this is that first half, which is getting you introduced to Tableau, building things quickly, getting you used to right-clicking and formatting and numbered formatting. So go ahead and break out into those groups. And then John, what time are we going to reconvene?
We're going to reconvene in 15 minutes. But just before we go, I want to do some introductions. So there is your instructor, Charles, and if you're looking to chat with him, it might be a little difficult for him to respond to you while he's talking, but his name starts with instructor. And there's also Ryan and Pablo and I, and if you need help with technical issues, not related to Tableau, you can reach out to us, and our names start with OCRUG. So Ryan, do you want to put people into breakout rooms?
Yep, we're going to randomly assign people into breakout rooms. There's going to be approximately 5 to 6 people in the rooms. And you'll probably get a dialog that pops up that'll be putting you into the rooms, and then we'll bring everybody back in about 15 minutes. So here we go, get ready.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your little breakout session there. Again, I want to reiterate and stress that you're just getting exposure to Tableau, really learning how to do it. Don't stress yourself about how much progress you made. That first part was really getting you acquainted with the interface, acquainted with building stuff out, and it's going to be used to set up a foundation for building the dashboards in that second half. Also, we're going to give you more time in the breakout session for that second part. So I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker in this first half. Again, I want to talk a little bit about design principles and types of charts, about 10-15 minutes on that. I'll again go through the second part to get you to the dashboard phase of what you should expect in that second breakout room. And they give you a full 30 minutes for the next breakout session so you can finish up the instructions and the dashboard. All right, that being said, I'll go ahead and jump back into the presentation here. And really what I'm going to cover next is some of my favorite influencers, pioneers of simple design. And again, I want to talk about, my style. I pointed those books out to you earlier. I showed you many different styles of what could be built in Tableau Public. And so right now, I want to express to you the importance of keeping things simple, of really just putting the data at the forefront and bringing everything back to the background and de-emphasizing so the data can breathe and tell its story. So again, name drop section, may want to get to know some of these individuals that are pioneers of data visualization. So when you're creating data visualizations yourself in Tableau, you're thinking about these design tips. First, one of my favorite, Google Analytics evangelist, Avinash Kaushik. He really iterates, it's the think before the ink. Spend 95% of your time defining the problem and 5% of your time trying to solve it. And the reason I bring that up as a person to follow and an influencer is that, it's not about jumping in and building the dashboards and just throwing data on a screen and people are just going to get an insight. But you really have to think about your audience. And I know I've repeated that, but I want that to really stick because I've got you for a 3-hour workshop. One of the things I want you to walk away from is it's not about using the tool and building things. It's about understanding the problem and then building something to eliminate that problem. So you've really got to think. And as I'm helping you build these foundations in Tableau, notice how I said, okay, you're going to build out these bang boxes, then you're going to build a line chart, you're going to build out a scatter plot, a jitter plot. But there were reasons that I had you build that and how that's going to make your data visualization even more impactful to your audience. Edward Tufte is the pioneer of data visualization. If you haven't read about Edward Tufte, this is definitely somebody you should pick up on your bookshelf. Get that and get reading through that cover to cover. It's a great book on how do you design visualizations to influence and to educate. One of his big tips on visual design is confusion and clutter are failures of design, not attributes of information, right? So if something is confusing, it's cluttered, it's because somebody put it together in that way and they didn't think about how the pieces and components should lock together in order to build a great visualization that really influences or educates. Stephen Few, the father of kind of dashboard, information dashboard design, like I mentioned to you earlier, his book, but he's very instrumental in the way that I've gone about learning how to design and improving my design skills. But he says numbers have an important story to tell, and it's your job. They rely on you to give them a clear and convincing voice. So again, think about the data and who you're trying to communicate with and make sure that you build visualizations that are impactful for the audience. And then finally, Cole Nussbaumer-Knaflic is the one who wrote the Storytelling with Data, and she emphasizes the need of decluttering, really taking away. Edit ruthlessly is something that a term that I've picked up from her when it comes to visual design. Really eliminate anything that's unnecessary to declutter your visualizations. And what she says here is to concentrate on the pearls. the information your audience needs to know. So I don't know if I've beaten that to death, in terms of keep it simple, keep it structured, keep it organized. And if you really want to let your data breathe and tell a story, then give it that space in your visuals. And so you'll notice that in a lot of the visualizations that I have you building tonight, it's not just building about a simple line chart or a bar chart or a dot plot, but it's about how do you format it and design it in a way that it's appealing and interesting to your audience. Because anybody can make a Tableau dashboard. Really, I think that exercise, and even a little bit later, you'll see, yes, you can take visual widgets and you can throw it into a space and publish it, and boom, you've got a dashboard. But I would say there's dashboards, and then there's better dashboards, right? There's just a big difference on how appealing, engaging, informative, style, design, color. The person who built this Energy America Osufka really thought about what was it that she was trying to educate her audience about, natural gas and where it's becoming more popular as an energy source, trends, comparing it against other energy sources. But I think you'd have to admit that it's just a very engaging and interesting dashboard. And like the first one I showed you about the baby boomers, a better way to really draw your audience in and have them want to learn about your data. So we talked about what we're doing, uploading data, creating visualizations. We're going to create a dashboard. You're going to publish that to the web. We've already started with the data piece. You've already started working on some visualizations. But before we move on to doing more visualizations, I did want to cover just a couple different types of graphs. That way you can add some you can diversify your view and really make it interesting to your audience. So that's the dashboard. By the time you're done, this is what the dashboard's going to look like. So some people were asking, well, are we going to get to the dashboard piece? If you look at the total complaints, total refunded, refund rate there at the top, those are the 3 bang boxes that you already made. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through some line graphs, some dot plots, bar graphs, and jitter plots. The majority of your time is spent creating the graphs, bringing it into the dashboard and putting it all together is actually very simple in Tableau. So you'll notice with the exercises, we're really focusing on creating and the building of the visualizations. And then the dashboarding piece of it is just bringing those visualizations into one view. So your audience can view all of that information, how it relates to each other. So I did want to talk about the types of graphs or the types of visuals that we're talking about today and show how in Tableau those are used. I referenced to some of them earlier, but I'm going to go through the 4 types of charts that we are building tonight, the 3 bang boxes you've already built. And again, bang boxes are really just kind of, they're used to direct the audience to what am I supposed to be looking at here, right? These large numbers are attractive to the eye. They're also very good when you're talking about targets and KPIs. You can use icons or conditional formatting to tell very quickly, is something in trouble, is something trending well. Compact a lot of information. I like in this visualization, they also added some spark lines to the bottom of those bang boxes. Oh, excuse me. The bottom of those bang boxes. So on top of what is the key metric that you're looking at, but how has it been trending over time? Line charts. You can't build visualizations without line charts. Line charts are the most common chart in history or in visualization today. And the reason they're common is because they're very easy for the human mind to comprehend. And so your line charts and bar charts are usually the typical choice. I don't like to have too many line charts, so that's why I try to tell you about try to change up and diversify exactly the types of charts that you add to your graphs. But in Tableau here, this was a way that they used line charts and brought those in with a stock chart, stock charts, and then we got some trend lines down here on the bottom. There's just a lot of when you take a look at lines, there's you can see comparisons. Very simple, very easy to use. We're going to build one tonight. Not going to spend a lot of time on a line chart, but I do like the way that these line charts are used with the heat map to really get an understanding of where and when things are happening, along with the trends and whether things are going increasing or decreasing. Dot plots, again, as I mentioned, is that you could do bar chart, bar chart, bar chart, bar chart, but that can become a little dull on the eyes. And I am using a Power BI chart here that has nothing to do with Power BI versus Tableau. I'm actually very tool agnostic when it comes to data visualizations. I'm just a big fan of Tableau, of its flexibility and ability to build cool visualizations. But in this Power BI chart, it's a lot of bar charts. And so you kind of lull your audience to sleep when you use the same type of chart over and over and over. So a dot plot gives you a little bit of diversity in the type of chart that you're building, and it breaks it up and again makes it kind of a bit more interesting. All of these charts that we're looking at too came from that big book of dashboards that I recommended, and down there in the credits you can see the authors of that book. I really like the way that they use color, different types of charts, and it makes you think outside of the box on what types of charts you should use. And then finally, the jitter plot. I don't know if people have heard of the jitter plot before. I know you can build those in R. I've seen them built out in Python. It's kind of like a box and whiskers plot. It's a play on the box and whiskers plot, but it also brings individuals into light that the way a box and whisker plot doesn't. Box and whisker plot's median, right? And then it's got its outliers, it's got its first percentile and third percentile. And really what you see is kind of the ranges of things, but what you lose on it is that you lose the population that is part of that data set. And so what a jitter plot does is it takes that box and whiskers, the dots in the box and whiskers plot, and it spreads them out. So you can still see where the median and the mean is, but now you can also see individuals. So like if we were looking at a survey, right, you can see the respondents here. How many of them, of that population that you had, how many are close in the median or within the, first and third percentile? How does an individual that you choose within this chart show up versus the rest of the population? So I kind of wanted to go over the 4 charts that were, the types of data visualizations and why I chose those visualizations, but also all of these dashboards that I was showing you today. With these visualizations were all made in Tableau. So again, potential and possibilities. If you learn the tool, you get better with the tool, the cooler types of charts you can build and build them together to come up with some really interesting data visualizations that are meant to inform or educate. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move back into our exercise. So let's move to part 2 of the exercise. So this is again just going through I'll go back here, just making sure that I had everything set up and ready for you, but I don't want to cheat and not have, not go through the steps. I want to give you that experience of what is it like to build out, is it simple? Is it easy for the most part? Yes, simple, easy, and pick it up. But if you want to get really good at it, there's some details that you have to get familiar with and improve upon. And so if you see somebody go through it live, then all right, Tableau does not want to. Just delete it and start all over. All right, so we're going to make a line chart, a bar chart, a dot plot, and a jitter plot, and then we're going to bring that all into Tableau dashboard within the next 30 minutes. And so that's what I'm going to focus on here. Let's go ahead. Start again. You're going to go down to the pane, the tabs down here in the bottom. You're going to start a new worksheet, and then we're going to build a line graph. So let's go ahead and build a line graph. What you do is you're going to bring your date field up into the columns here. Right click down on these dimensions. So up here, this is called the shelf. You got a column shelf and a row shelf. And this is where you're bringing your dimensions and measures in order to build out these visualizations. So here you can bring out month, And so that turns it green, right? So before we had a dimension, it was a discrete category. It was doing like a month category. In this case, now it's turned it into a continuous dimension that will help you, that will be used to build your line chart. Then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the refund rate. Refund rate is going to be your line chart there. It looks like I forgot to exclude my last 2 months there. So, okay. Now, real quick, just, while we're on this, why did I exclude those last 2 months? And, a real quick just view of Tableau line charts, right? I can answer questions real quickly. So, Charles, why did you exclude those last 2 months? Well, when I was doing, I mentioned it earlier, when I was doing the exploratory data analysis, I was taking a look at what was happening with the data and what could I see. And when I was going through the data, what I realized is that there's a lag time on the refunds. So while all of the complaints came in through the year of December 2019, there's a bit of lag on giving refunds for the complaints. So the last 2 months of this data set are artificial drops in the data source. And these are the sort of things as a data professional you really have to think about. So while I'm teaching you to use Tableau, right, to build a dashboard, it's really a data, exploration tool as well. And I don't want to undersell that capability. But really, when people think of Tableau, they think of creating these animated visualizations. And I wanted to give you a full suite of tools so you can build whatever you want. But you do need to get in the data, explore the data, take a look at it. Are there any anomalies that are sticking out that I need to understand? As data professionals, you have to be able to not only build data tools, data visualizations, but you have to be able to explain why you made some of the decisions that you made. So, right, make sure you really get familiar with that data, get familiar with your audience, know where there might be some data traps, and figure out how you're going to get around those sort of things. So this is a simple case, but in this case, right, I noticed that, at first I looked at refund rate. I was like, oh, there was a drop at the end of the year. Let's figure out what the CFO would want to know about improving that. And really, it was a false drop. And so it was inaccurate information that still needed time to complete. So for right now, the best decision in making the data source is to filter those out. So just want to let you, again, reiterate to use the tool not only for building dashboards and visualizations, but also for checking out the data and understanding the data. All right, so we got the refund rate and then window max refund rate. That window max, the max refund rate, that's going to be used. The dot is going to be used to highlight a point on the graph, and then I do a dual axis. And so now what that does is it creates a second point on that graph. Remember, I told you earlier as we were doing the calculated fields that we're going to use those functions to create visualizations later in Tableau. Now, you could use labeling, but that's only numbers. It's not colors. In this case, I want a color that indicates. Where I use this quite a bit in my work is in statistical process control charts, if you're familiar with those. But within the statistical process control charts, there's times where things are go outside of that are abnormal inconsistencies or outliers. And so you could use the same technique to identify outliers in your data set to call those out, and you could highlight them on a graph, or you could exclude them depending on the situation that you're doing your data analysis for. So then we bring on that refund rate. Going to come over to the marks card, and so notice how since you have two measures and a dual axis, it then creates a marks card. You can change the color, right? You can go in and change your colors, make that purple, you can make that gold. Apply, right? You can go in there and change these colors if you want. I'm gonna go back because I don't want those colors. But if you're really big into design and colors, I would definitely check out like Adobe Color Wheel and really learn some kind of cool looking color combinations to make your data visualizations more attractive, more informative, more interesting. Color is a great way of really grabbing the attention of your audience and bringing them into your visualization. You can also change the size of things. So if I wanted, I could change the size of the line chart. You could label it, right? Update labels. You can update the text. You can update label color text. You can do min and max, do it at just the end of the lines. You can do it at the start of the line or just the end of the line. So, right, lots of flexibility on what you want to show in your charts there. Details, those are, you just bring that in. A lot of the times I bring it into the detail for your titles, and that makes those dynamic titles. So if you create a field, calculated measure that then is used for a dynamic title, if you change a filter, then you can also change the name in the title. That's where the detail button would help. We're also going to use that in a few moments for the jitter plot, and I'll show you like if you want to bring in a third measure or a third dimension in order to do something cool with the chart. So I'm going to use this marks card to help make the named dot bigger. Right, call that out a little bit, make it, and then say, what's the, what is that data point? And so that data point now I need to move that label around a little bit. So I'm going to move it to the left there, and then I'm going to format it. So it's a percentage. That's the wrong. There you go. All right, so now I've got a call out, say this number is important. I was able to do that with the Tableau function, relatively quickly. And then, as I told you, keep it simple, really clean up the axes. Chart junk, I don't know if you've ever heard of that term, but it's anything that's within a chart that does not add value. So like the dual axis, do we need both of those axes? Do we need the title over there on the left? Do we, the axis lines, that's maybe you need it, maybe you don't. I'm going to make this more of a spark line style, so I'm probably not going to need that. So chart junk is anything that distracts from the data itself. So you want to eliminate as much chart junk as possible. If we go back to Kaushik and Few and Knaflic, Nussbaum or Knaflic, right? Declutter, simplify. And the way you do that is by removing a lot of this chart junk to allow your data visualizations to breathe. So that's why I showed you earlier on that right click with formatting becomes super important, because you're just going to want to get rid of this stuff. And over time, you're just going to get rid, you're going to start getting rid of stuff really quick because you're better at it. And you just go through, you're like, okay, I know what I got to do there. And now I got to take these lines off. You're going to be taking off columns and sheets. Don't need these axes. Now, these are not hard and fast rule. Like some people say you have to have axes all the time. Some people say you don't. Some people say you have to start your line graphs and bar graphs from zero. Some people don't. That's dependent on the individual and the situation and what you're building. And sometimes, yes, you should always start a bar chart from zero. But in some cases, a line chart, the axis may not always have to start from zero, right? So the more you learn about visualization, the better you'll get at which situations do I have to use hard and fast rules, and which situations can I kind of forego some of those. I'm just getting rid of, I'm going to get rid of those lines, axis lines right now. I'm going to edit the axis, and I'm going to not include zero. Format, I'm going to take that title out. And then down here, I don't need the month of date. Again, intuitive that's a month. Let's edit that axis, take month of date out, right? Edit ruthlessly. If you don't need it, get rid of it. And down here, I can change that to I'm going to do a month and year. And so you've got these options that you can change your formatting, or if you can change custom, then you can just update it to month, year. M's or months. right? Ds are days. As an R user group, I'm assuming you're familiar with a lot of this stuff, which is kind of covering that, and, you know, just do year, right? So whatever you type in here will then reflect down in that axis. It's a cool feature that, you know, again, you don't want to take a bunch of space. You just want to give attention to what needs to be given attention to. We know we need to know it's months and year, but beyond that, how much more do we need? Not a lot. And then I just wanted to take these. Percentage and 0. All right, so make sure you rename your what's this? This is refund rate line chart. And then I'm going to rename the title, refund rate. And I want to use this as an opportunity that your title is where you build context and help people understand exactly what they're looking at. You know the data, but you have to help your audience set their frame of reference. And that's where titles become very helpful. Titles, footnotes, and tooltips. And I wish I would have spent more time on the tooltips this time, but 3 hours, try to fit in as much as I can and get you guys to a point where you can self-teach yourself. You can self-teach. You know, I forego tooltips, but if you're going to continue your education in Tableau, check out tooltips and how you can format them and make them more interesting. I'll give you a quick little tip here is that, like, so if you take a look at this tooltip, right, it's auto-populated for you and you can float over and it gives you that information, but it looks kind of clunky. You know, if you wanted to make it more like a regular sentence, you can go to a tooltip and they already have the fields there for you. So you can then update the text on that month. The refund was, right. And now what you have is that those numbers, let me go ahead and just change this all to gray. Now when you float over it on November 18th, the refund rate was 18. That just seems a bit more proper English than the tooltips that, you know, proper language than the tooltips had before. And notice that when I choose a month on April, on May, on June, right, you can get really creative, you get good with tooltips, and you can tell a whole story that's like dynamic. So just think about tooltips. While I'm not covering them a lot in this, I wanted to let you know that, you know, focus on them at a future date, maybe at an intermediate Tableau course, because I think they're really cool, and I just wanted to kind of highlight how cool I think they are. All right, and then looks like they're just left here. There. All right, so that's your line chart. Now we're going to move on to a bar chart and create a new one here, rename it. This is going to be total refunds bar chart. All right, so bar chart simple here. We're going to bring in total refunds up to the top. And then we're going to break it down by product and sort that product. Need some labels. So 2 ways you could bring in labels. You can either press Control and drag these columns down here into labels. Notice how it stays there. Or you just bring it in from the dimensions. Total refunds. Label. All right, so I got my labels. Now, since I've labeled it, I've decided that I no longer need this x-axis, so I'll go ahead and delete that, take off this column header, remove that. Oops. Right-click the products and hide field labels for rows. So there's a little gotcha there that notice how I deleted the headers versus hide the field labels. I just don't need that product field label up there, because I'm going to rename it in the title total refunds by product, so they're not going to need to see that information. I hope you're picking up what I'm throwing down there, and the fact that use your title to label the chart and then pull out all that chart jump so you just have a visually appealing chart. All right, so now I can format this and all right. Now, the one thing I want to point out here is notice how the names here are abbreviated. They're cut off. When you're doing a bar chart, you don't want that sort of stuff cut off. You want to think about, fitting all the information for readability. And so what's a nice thing about Tableau is that you can update those values with some aliases. So you just can go to the product here, right click on that, aliases. And then what you can do is you can update it. So personal accounts, credit cards, debt collection, that's good enough. Money transfers. Student loan, vehicle loan. And boom. All right, so see how much more readable that is. Plus, when you use that product dimension in the future, it's going to hold those aliases so you can always see that. So that's a nice clean bar chart, right? Removed all the chart junk. Oh, forgot the title up here. And then we're going to call that total refunds by product. And that covers the field label that I all right, now, so that's a bar chart. We got the line chart. Now we're going to do the dot plot. And a dot plot is, as I explained earlier, it's just kind of a different way of showing a bar chart. But what I also like about the dot plot is it shows clusters pretty well. So you'll see that when we create this, that there's groups and clusters within the segments that are kind of similar. And when you're doing data analysis and evaluation, that comes in very handy. All right, so what we want to now do is rename this refund rate dot plot. Okay, now what we want to do is drag the window shelf here. All right, so this window max, this is another function that we created earlier. What I told you before is that it's going to tell you the max value regardless of any sort of segmentation or category groupings that you're doing. So you're going to use that as the line for the dot plot, and then the dot is going to lay on there, and it's going to give this slider look, which looks pretty cool. All right, so now that refund, I'm going to compute it at that product level, because right now I broke out what that refund rate is, but then when I update the computation, it then creates that line, and then I can change the color of that line and the size to as small as possible. And there you go. That's now going to be the line for your dot plot. Now to create the actual dots itself, we're going to drag the refund rate up here. And so you notice how that now creates the dual views. Do the dual axis. So notice how wash, rinse, repeat. You're just going to get better at this over time the more you use it. Now what you want to do is you want to come down in the marks card. We've got all dots. So what happened? Where'd my line go? Well, one of the tricky things to Tableau is there are tricks to Tableau. It's not always, there's things that are quirky, just like any software, that everything has its quirks that you have to kind of learn around. One thing you may notice is that what you're seeing on your computer and the resolution of your computer screen is a little bit different than what I'm seeing in the resolution of my computer screen. So you have to account for that and try to, kind of work, how do you get around that stuff? And the more you use it on your local computer, the more you'll get familiar with your native environment and how Tableau works on your computer screen. In this case, what it did to me is it turned everything from lines to dots. So then I just have to go back into the marks, go to the chart type menu, and then I'll change that back to a bar. It's got my bar there, re-update my color. So I'm going to do blue and gray. Got that. Now, where are my dots? Oh, they stayed small from the last line, so I got to make them bigger. There you go. So now you see the dots. We want to give them some labels, show the labels, right? And then what we want to do is we want to format those labels so they come inside of the dots. And so those are the refund rates. I'm going to right click, format, turn that into a percentage. So there's axis and there's pane. So pay attention as you're taking a look at that. You can see it trips me up more often than I'd like to admit, just moving faster than I should be. So I was updating the wrong thing. So there's the percentage, 0. And then I also want to change the label color. I want to change the size to 7. I want to change the color white. And I want to realign it into the middle. There you go. Okay. All right. So it looks a little small here, but when you bring it in a little big here, actually, I'll do it one more size. But when you bring it into the dashboard, it also resizes itself a little bit. So it's just something to account for. But for right now, oh, it's because it didn't stick. There you go. There you go. Okay. So now you can see what the range is and how they compare to one another. I'm going to sort it by volume. So you can sort a pill, a dimension. These are called pills, actually, when you bring them up. So there's the green pills and the blue pills. It's just another term for the dimensions and the measures that you bring up into these shelves. So I do want to sort it because I'm going to get it to match my bar chart a little bit later. So you can sort. And so here's the sort screen, and you can take a look at different ways to sort. You can do it alphabetically. You can do it by a particular field. You can choose the sort. I'm going to do it by a field because I'm going to use it in a little bit by the same as total refunds volume. Line them up against the bar chart so they match, and I can save some more space in my dashboard. So there's the percentages. And now, as I've said a few times, get rid of all the chart junk. If there's anything that you walk away from this session, it's going to be chart junk. I don't ever want to see it again. Right, simplify and de-emphasize, eliminate where necessary. So we don't need that header anymore. We got the numbers inside of the dots, tells them what they need. We don't need this field label row anymore. And then as I think you'll start getting really familiar with is we don't need the columns or the lines. Now I want to reiterate that, again, situational. I'm not saying that you should always take away axes and eliminate them, but if you don't need them, don't keep them. In this case, I found ways to pull that axes information into a different visualization style and really focus on the visualization itself. But don't just go around just pulling stuff out and not doing best in class visualization techniques and getting yourself in trouble. All right, there we go. Okay, so now that's a slider dot plot chart. As you can see, right, personal accounts and credit cards are kind of your highest offenders here when it comes to rates, but then you see some down here, you see there. So it just gives you that kind of comparison, and it's a little bit different than a bar chart. And then our final chart is going to be the jitter plot. And the jitter plot is refund rate. So we call it refund rate jitter plot. Okay, there's the title. So you can create calculated fields in 3 places. You can go to analysis, create calculated field. Well, that one you've already learned. You can also right click in the data pane over here. And then, but it's got to be in the white space. It can be a bit tricky at times. Create calculated field, second way to do it. Or if you know the formula that you need to put in, you can add it right into the column shelf. So in this case, I'm using something called index. And that's what's going to give us the jittering of the jitter plot, where you saw that the dots were then spread apart. And so you could see different instances in the same area. So you do index, and then we're going to bring in the refund rate into the rows. Okay, create your dot. Then you're going to bring the issues. This is where I was talking about early in the marks card. You're going to bring in the details. And then what you do is you calculate that index, compute using issue. And voila, it spreads the data out. What that is just a random function that says, it gives it an X, Y, it gives it a random X coordinate. And then that's placed on this graphical area. So it spreads it out. And you actually have some flexibility on how wide that you want to make the space in between the jitter plots. But yeah, that's how you create that. And then what you can do is we'll then change the circles. So right now it's an automatic shape, but I want it to be a solid circle, because what I like to do with the jitter plot is then go to color, add some transparency so you can see through it, and it gives you that kind of cool looking transparency view, and you can see where things are clustered together. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to remove some chart junk. So I don't need this. Remove the header. I don't need the lines. Okay, so got that. Don't need the 0 lines. Like that. And then, oh, one thing I did forget to do. What I like about a jitter plot too is that you can use multiple measures. So in this case, I could not only talk about the refund rate broken down by the issue, but then I could also see what types of issues, right? Not only what that refund rate is, but also how large is the problem. Being a business analyst, I'm always trying to reduce metrics. And so when I'm like wanting to reduce, let's say I want to reduce a call center wait time. And so I look into, which wait times are the highest and which volume of calls or group of people that's coming from. And then I'll attack that group, right? And try to reduce that wait time. Well, in this case, with a refund rate, I can see that there's a large volume of refunds coming through with an issue of managing an account, right? If I want my biggest bang for my buck to reduce that metric, then I'm going to concentrate on that large circle and try to reduce that, thus bringing down my overall metric to the targets or rates that I need to get to. And I think it's a cool visualization too, right? It's the other ones are inconsequential versus the larger ones that seem to need some attention. Get back to formatting and removing my chart junk. Got that, and then I'm going to rename, edit the title, and then this is refund volume and rate by issue. Okay. All right, so we spent all that time building out these 7 charts and bang boxes. Like, Charles, when are we gonna get to the dashboarding part? We only got 3 minutes before we have to go do our breakout session. Didn't I come here to make a dashboard? Yes, you did. And the nice thing about Tableau is that the dashboarding part is pretty quick and pretty easy. That's why you set the foundation of your visualizations to then set yourself up to build something out real quick. And now that's what I'm going to spend my time doing. When you get to the dashboarding piece of the exercise, just go down here, click the crosshairs. That's going to create a new dashboard for you. A little bit about what you're looking at. There's a dashboard pane and a layout pane. The dashboard pane is really about bringing in sheets, bringing in objects, and building things out. And then the layout is about positioning, sizing, and color. Okay, that makes it real easy to build this stuff out. So I'm going to go ahead and build out your dashboard. So first thing you want to do is resize it to automatic size. If you're doing like a special infographic and you want it to look a way online, then you can have fixed and really set that up to do, you know, those sort of visualizations. The one we looked at earlier, the examples that we looked at, those were using fixed measures, so it would look good online in a special place. But as you're getting started, your automatic works really well and kind of building out your first beginning dashboards. And what that's going to do is, depending on the resolution of the screen that it's going to come on, it's going to resize that dashboard for the device that's viewing it. So the first thing we're going to need is a title. So down here is your objects area, and that's where you're going to pull stuff in. There's tiled objects, which means it's going to stick to the page and land somewhere that fits in with the other objects that are there. And then there's floating, which is kind of free floating out there where you can put that wherever you want. So I'm going to free float a text out here, and I'm going to call this the refund rate dashboard. At this point, all these dialog boxes are probably super intuitive. You know, you're used to them. As you were going through making bang boxes, you're going to go back and make some line charts and some dot plots. All right, so get really familiar with dialog boxes, refund rate dashboard. So that's going to be my name. I'm actually going to color that up just to make it something any more than gray. I'm going to resize it to 24, I believe is what the number was. It might be 16. Instructions again. 16. See, I ain't gonna make you guys do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So I'm going through these instructions, and while I know them pretty well because I've been working on it and making sure that this exercise works for you guys, no, I don't have it all memorized. With that, refund rate. Okay, so we got this refund rate. Now you use the layout screen. Now I gave you sizing and positions just to make it easy for you on how you set it up on the dashboard. But it's really, it's drag and drop. So you don't have to use the positions. Resize it. Again, also with your computer resolutions, you may or may not have the same positioning that I have in the instructions. So don't be afraid to go in there and go ahead and, you know, move it around. It's drag and drop. It really makes it that easy. And then I can give it a background, give it a background of light blue. All right. I'm gonna just give a little bit of space to that title so it's just not right against the edge. So there's my refund rate dashboard. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull in some objects. These horizontal and vertical objects are good for framing. So yes, you can bring in stuff really, floating, but then you have to resize it, reshape it, and get it to match up. And sometimes that's not the best way. So what you want to do is you bring out one of these horizontal objects, and then that's going to give us space to put my bang boxes, so I don't have to worry about my bang boxes getting misaligned. So now you do have to change it to tiled. Tiled is now fixed, and so we're going to fix those bang boxes and just drag them right next to each other. Right? So now I don't have to worry about how they are aligned. And apparently I forgot to center justify these. All right, so, and then if I want to resize the shape, I can go to the layout. Down here is the item hierarchy, and then I can do this. And then it's going to resize and reorganize everything for me. All right, so then we've got the line chart. I'm going to go back to floating, line chart. We're a little over here, so I just want to finish this up for you. These legends are not necessary for data. Legends are necessary for a chart, but for tonight's exercise, I'm not going to worry about those. So just delete those, but it does create legends for you, or you can even create your own legends. And that's an exercise for another day, but you could create your own customized legends. Then we're going to bring in the dot plot. So notice how the dot plot comes in. It doesn't seem to be fitting in exactly how you would expect it. So you click on a box, there's this fit button, And that allows you to fit to the width. So however wide your chart is, it'll fit that in, but it might create a scroll bar up and down to fit your height, where it'll fit your height, but then you might have a scroll bar left and right, where you can pick entire view, and that's just going to fit everything right there in for you. So now you got that, and then we got the bar chart. Bring that in. Again, fit to view, so I've got it fitting. Okay, get those aligned. So this would be another time where maybe the horizontal or vertical objects would come in handy, and you could bring that stuff in so they're lined up, but in the respective time, I'm not going to spend too much on that. When you bring in the jitter plot here, delete that. Drag this down. And so you can see resizing had become important. That's where I'm going to give you that flexibility to get in there and play with it and resize it a little bit so it looks good for you. But there you go. Refund volume in. I'm writing German now. Refund volume and okay. There you go. Now, the one thing I'm going to say is that some of the titles look like they're probably taking up too much space. And so one cool thing that you can do is you can go to the dashboard menu and you can do format, and you can format all of the titles at once rather than having to do each one individually by going down to worksheet titles. Right now, I've got them at 15 points. Notice if I do 12 points, enter, they all shrink themselves up. And then I'm going to shrink this a little bit, drag that back. And so, right, I'm just trying to get things to line up now, get it clean. Now, if you recall earlier, I created these aliases and they match. So if I wanted, I could just take that off, save a little bit more space. And then my audience can read personal accounts, 24% and 1,471 refunds. There's a lot of information right there, and I saved a lot of space by making my dashboard look clean, letting the data breathe, and creating a lot of space for only the most important information. So that's the dashboard that you should be trying to create. That's where you're trying to get. And then once you've got that done, it's just as simple as File, Save to Tableau Public. It's going to ask you what you want to name it. I'm going to name it Refunds Dashboard Test. That way I get to go and check it out later. I save it. And there you go. Now I'm live online with my first dashboard for my next job interview, or whether I want to enter one of those monthly challenges, or, I just want to share something with my friends. If you go through my Tableau Public, I actually did a visualization of my fantasy football league one year and who the winners were and how they changed over time. Big fantasy sports fan here, and used a lot of that stuff. But yeah, that's online. I can share that with people. There's information there about sharing it. You can edit the details. And then if you go to your own profile, go back and I view my profile, you can see I have 71 vises I've created, actually only 41 that are visual. So, you can hide what you want to show. So if you want to make your portfolio and gallery just of your best work, your sandbox can be building all these ones for yourself, but what you show to others could just be your best work. So that is all that I've got for the evening in terms of instructions and presentation. I know I went over a little bit again, but that is why I gave you a long list of instructions. So if you don't finish it, don't feel stressed. You can still complete this exercise and get it published and get started on Tableau Public. So John, I'm all done there, and we can break people out in breakout groups unless there's some questions that I need to answer.
Yeah, so we're going to break you out into breakout rooms, and we'll come back about quarter after. And we've shuffled the breakout rooms a little bit so that everybody has a full room. And yeah. So Ryan, if you want to push people into the breakout rooms, that'd be great.
Great, just push the button. So.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So in the chat, I've put up links to how you can get in contact with OCRUG. So we have our website, which is a meetup website. We have a YouTube channel. So this course will get posted on the YouTube channel. There's a bunch of other courses and there's our meetups there. If you subscribe and then say notify, you'll get notified when this course is published. I'll do it probably in the next few days. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And if you have any questions, our email is there. One other thing I wanted to talk about was on April 10th and 11th, we will be having a hackathon. So it will be a virtual hackathon. It's a Saturday, Sunday event. We've done these in the past. This will be our first virtual one. They've been a ton of fun. Basically, it's we give you a data set, we put you in teams, and then you start hacking on the data. We'll have some fun events in the evening. And then you'll present your work on Sunday. We have mentors coming in so that the mentors will join you in the breakout rooms and give you some guidance and work with the team. And you could use your new Tableau skills. We're in our group, but we're open to anything. So even if you're not an R programmer, don't worry about that. Come and hang out. It's a great way to network with professionals. And if you're a professional, it's a great way to mentor people and have a lot of fun hacking. So I put the link for the hackathon in the chat. Make sure you grab these because once we disconnect, you'll lose them, and we'd love to see you coming out. I want to thank Charles, Ryan, and Pablo very much for putting this course on. It's been a great help. We couldn't have done it without you guys. And now what we're going to do is have a Q&A. So you get to ask Charles some questions and get some insights and maybe get some feedback on some of the things you're struggling with. So take it away, Charles. Thank you.
I would say if you have a question, you can just unmute yourself and ask.
I have a quick question. Sometimes you do something stupid and then you want to like undo it. Is there a way, like very quick way, just undo something?
Yeah, actually, up in the toolbar, up underneath the menu, you can press the back arrow. It'll just allow.
Okay, there is a back button, right?
Yeah, there's a button.
Oh, okay.
Actually, if you want, I just.
Okay, so can we copy and paste the graph into somewhere else like a PowerPoint or my own file? So look like I do a right click, but there's no option for me to copy the graph.
So you want to save it to you want to save it to like a PDF or something and then bring it into a PowerPoint?
Okay, I want to save it like, in my memory. So I believe, it can be PNG or something else, right? Or GIF file. So, and usually in our program, okay, I can do a right click and then copy graph and then open a Word file or PowerPoint and paste it. But look like this one, that disallow me to copy and paste, right?
So so one of the things about Tableau Public is that it lacks some of the features, and so really it's Tableau Public for the publishing to the public. It allows you to go through Tableau, build stuff, and then publish it. Unlike the enterprise version where you can save PDFs and images, you can't do that with the Tableau Public version. So you're kind of stuck with the snippet tool and then take a picture of it and then save it as an image.
Okay.
As far as I know, there is no option to like, once upon a time, Tableau Public was allowing to do all that sort of stuff, but it seems like they've been trimming away some of the functionality of the public version. And so that's, yeah. So in some cases, you're just going to have to do hacks in order to like save that information. I know somebody also saved me, could you save that Tableau file to your local computer? Once upon a time you could, but you can't anymore. It's just something they took away, right? It probably cuts into their profits. So in this case, what I've known to do is I'll publish it to Tableau Public, and then you can download it back down to your computer, ironically enough. So if you wanted to save a .twbx, which is what a Tableau file is, you could save it to Tableau Public and then go to your public profile, re-download it, and save it to your local computer. That's the best option that I know of with the public version.
Looks like we have a question from Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, hi. I first want to say thank you for the thing tonight. Really appreciate it. It was awesome. Other question I had was, after publishing to Tableau Public, I'm curious, is there any way to do, I guess, faster edits? Like, let's say you see once you publish it that the formatting seems weird, or just, you know, text is getting cut off, something just seems off. Is there any quick ways to republish? Because it seems, it could be my machine and internet, but it seems a little slow on the website.
Yeah, and I mean, it does have to do with your machine and the internet memory, those sort of things that you've got. But the only thing you can do is resave. So you've got to save it. You've got to make your edits in the Tableau Public desktop version and then resave it again. But no, there's nothing you could really do quick in the Tableau Public environment to fix the way. That's why in the fixed screen, I said use automatic, so it'll kind of resize to the screen. But in some cases, like what you're pointing out now, it doesn't always work that way. So you would fix size it, change the shape and stuff in the desktop version, and then just resave it over that last version you've got.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? You can go ahead and unmute yourself. All right, maybe not. John, did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone very much for coming out, and we hold all kinds of these events and love seeing people from the community joining us. And I really want to thank Charles for putting this together. It was, yeah, big round of applause. It was no small amount of work putting together the instructions and leading the course and stuff like that. And I really appreciate him giving to the community.
Happy to give back. People gave back to me and during my career, and the only thing I can do is pay it forward. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you get a lot out of it.
Great, thanks so much. So don't forget to grab those links that I posted earlier about how to connect with us. We have all kinds of great events coming up, and we have that hackathon, and we'd love to see you guys there.